Hi, Prototype Atheist here, and in this video I'm going to discuss the absurdity of believing in a naturalistic universe while also believing in religion, specifically Abrahamic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, Islam. I'm going to show just how absurd really it is to believe in any of those religions if you have any understanding of science and accept these things as true. We're not going to delve into creationism in this topic because I just feel that that's so easily debunked. Maybe some other time I will address that, but for this video, we're going to stick to people who accept certain scientific facts, such as an old Earth, an old universe, evolution, things of that nature. Because accepting those things and believing in religion are not mutually exclusive. Certainly, when I was a Christian, I most assuredly accepted these scientific facts and also held on to my faith. And a lot of people do. And that's certainly preferable to the alternative of trying to completely ignore scientific evidence in order to advance your beliefs or continue on in your faith blindly. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start all the way back at the beginning, the Big Bang, or where did everything come from? Because that's always where theological, philosophical debates begin. So we can either start by saying, if you're religious, if you believe in one of these religions, that God either always existed or he at some point came into existence for unknown reasons. Either way, it's really not important to this argument or to show the absurdity of this whole string of events, which you must believe in. So, really, the means of God existing is not important. Although, if you claim that he has existed for eternity, that literally means he sat around for time immemorial doing absolutely nothing, and then at some point decided that he was going to create the cosmos. So, let's say at some point God finally just gets bored of sitting around literally forever and touches off the Big Bang. Now, at this point, either he's kind of going to be hands off, meaning he's just going to kind of watch the universe expand for about 10 billion years and just kind of stare at it, watching it as it expands and cools and forms and condenses into planets and stars and all the other matter in the cosmos. Or maybe if you take a more religious biblical approach, he's off there somewhere in some other galaxy crafting stars and planets, and eventually after about 10 billion years he gets to our solar system. So either way, it's 10 billion years until the formation of the Earth. So I think for the remainder of this, we'll go ahead and say that God is pretty hands off. That he's not creating planets, forming them with his hands as he goes along, but just kind of set in motion a chain of events that were part of his grand plan. Okay, so after sitting around for 10 billion years doing not much of anything, he then decides to turn an eye towards Earth. Of course, this is his grand design. It, of course, completely revolves around the Earth and the eventual inhabitants thereof. So he's watching the Earth cool, and then he's watching the formation of life on Earth. So we get the earliest cells and bacteria, and they start metabolizing and evolving. And so eventually these cells evolve into multicellular organisms and continued on and evolving into more complex animals and plants. Eventually at some point, we get dinosaurs, and of course everybody's familiar with dinosaurs. So I just can imagine God sitting there, looking down at the earth and these dinosaurs and thinking like, really, what the hell am I doing? As the dinosaurs are tearing each other to shreds and just stomping all over the earth. Um, and so I guess at this point he either has to, send down a meteorite or just happen to have one floating around for this very reason, so that it comes down to Earth and completely wipes out all the dinosaurs. Which then, of course, sets the stage for mammalian evolution. Um, so, you know, then the small mammals take over. They start evolving further and further, and eventually we come to a point where we have uh, human ancestors, human-like ancestors, but not quite human yet. Nope, they're not done cooking, so God's just going to stand by and wait. We're not going to give them souls yet. We're not going to say that there's anything special about them yet. They're just still animals. And so eventually he decides, hey, you know what? I guess they look enough like me at this point. So we're going to go ahead and say that these guys are humans. And then, at that point, you can go anywhere, anywhere that the Bible leads you. You can say, the Garden of Eden was when God decided that the first man and woman humans were existing. And so he decided to start directly intervening in the affairs of human beings at that point. And, so now that we have humans, he's going to meddle wildly in the affairs of humans for a few thousand years. Although not all humans, just a small group of humans who live in a very specific area of the Middle East, even though at this point much of the earth is populated by other cultures and civilizations. But he's only going to bother with this one very specific group in the Middle East. And he's going to choose to reveal himself to them. And this is all, of course, a part of his great plan. So he does all these things like parting seas and appearing as a burning bush and decreeing commandments on mountaintops, and all these terrifically demonstrative acts that just show him being directly involved in the universe and directly involved with human beings and directly revealing himself to human beings. So and so the rest of the story. And then eventually we get to, of course, the New Testament, where God decides things are so bad that he's just going to have to come down and take things into his own hands. So he's going to come down to earth himself in the form of Jesus, and he's going to perform miracles and spread the good word and let everybody know about his plan, and how exactly you can achieve eternal bliss with him. And of course, again, he's sticking to this idea that he's only going to reveal this to a very small group of humans living in a very tiny portion of the entire earth that he created. And this is his great plan for everyone to know how you're supposed to get to heaven for eternity, which is really the only thing that matters, especially when you consider at the time that these events were allegedly taking place, the average lifespan was probably in the range of 30 years, if that. So, I mean, really, so you have 30 years on Earth. That is beyond inconsequential when put next to eternity. So, it's completely absurd, these beliefs, to believe that the almighty creator of the universe had the great plan of communicating his message to us, which is going to help us save our eternal souls. And the best way he found to do that was to have a bunch of ancient texts written down in a highly illiterate area of the world and have those passed down through centuries. And us reading these contradictory and absurd texts is our way of achieving the most important thing in the entire universe. None of it makes any sense. Why would God just one day decide to create anything when he's just sitting around forever? Why would he go about the way that he did, in using the timeline that he did? It just, none of it makes sense. It's completely absurd. So it can all pretty much be discarded. So yeah, Christianity, uh, Seems legit.